Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to the Talking Nonsense About Impact Wrestling podcast. Cross the line in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Talking Nonsense About Impact Wrestling podcast. We have a great show for you today, jam-packed, so I'm not going to banter too much as normal. I will say, with me today is the Velvet Sky and, what do you want to be, Grado, to my Curry Man. It's Max and Craig, everybody. Max and Craig. Can you guys...
Am I Velvet Sky or
well,
am I
you'd be
Grado?
Velvet, yeah. Yeah.
I would be Velvet. I'm okay with
I would be Velvet.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I'll take
right?
Grado.
It's not bad. Do you
I'll
guys
take
know what
Grado.
the common connector is between those three?
They're your favorite wrestlers.
They're your favorite wrestlers in
Ever in Impact?
Well, fine,
Ever
right
in Impact? Your three favorite? No?
You'll got fired if
They all got fired and Feast or Fired, which is a little foreshadowing. We'll be playing Feast or Fired today. That's a game I made up. It's not, none of us are actually getting fired. As you can see on the bottom right, we are going to be joined for Hot Topics, the game, and Q&A when we'll have some callers call in as well with Michael Cavacini. Said that right? Hey, thumbs up. He'll be with us. He is the author of the 20th Anniversary Untitled books. Don't have a name for him just yet, but we have a lot of cool information that he's going to give us, and we'll pick his brain about the 20 great years of TNA folklore, I guess. We don't have anyone in the chat now, but as soon as you join in the chat, start typing away. Ask us any questions you might have for him. We'll go back to it. How we doing? Max, Craig, you guys want to say a little something before we...
Well, I'd like to point out
that I was super excited this morning when I woke up because I thought AEW was on Saturday and I was going to get to watch Don Callis and the Good Brothers on Saturday, but they aren't cool enough to hold a program on Saturday.
Oh, but it's a natural...
All the good
that
wrestling
companies. That is a natural
companies.
segue. Yes, all the good. Yes, Saturday. Next Saturday is Sacrifice, as you can see there. It is at 8 o'clock showtime, 8 to 11. You know it always runs low, but we will be 7 to 7:59 doing a pre-show instead of doing it during Sacrifice because we'll be watching intently. All right, Craig.
It'll be a live pre-show because I will be at your house.
It'll be a very live pre-show. That's right. I don't have anything. Craig, you want to wrap it up and send us to power rankings?
I think Craig froze.
I think Craig froze.
TNA.
Either that or
TNA.
he's just he's corpsing.
Worst
Every
time.
week.
Okay, is it me?
Oh, Cody will be doing a pre-show in the morning as
Okay,
well,
there you
by
go.
the way.
So check that out.
So check that out.
Craig, take it away, my friend.
Is it
Yeah,
me?
you're there.
Yeah? Yes, it's me. It's MIB, Craig, aka Mr. Impact Blog. And if you don't know by now, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Sounder, and we're going to be on SoundCloud. Find us. We're here, there, we're everywhere. New show coming out starting Monday, hosted by me. State of Impact, where I'll go along with what's been going on in Impact and also what the sheets are saying. So that's pretty much covered it for this part, so may as well kick it.
Back, and we are joined. Michael is here. He is the author of the 20th anniversary. We've called it every name. I know you're not revealing yet, but the 20th anniversary, is that what we're going to call it? 20th anniversary of TNA Impact Wrestling?
Yeah, so I can explain what that means for people real quick. So there's going to be two books. And 20 years, you might be like, wait, they're not 20 years old yet. Well, they will be by 2022. So these books...
Get some reverb from him, G. Can you make sure that he's muted?
Yeah. Sorry about that,
We
guys.
get some echoes. I just want him to be muted.
All good.
Good. Yeah. So anyway, there's going to be two books. So the first book will be 2002 through 2009. So it'll be right before Hulk Hogan shows up.
Okay.
And that'll be focused on TNA wrestling, right? And book 2 will be 2010 through the end of 2022. And that will be focused on Impact Wrestling, because once Hogan showed up, they rebranded to Impact. And eventually, in 2017, officially changed the name to Impact, which it is today. So that's how it's going to be split up. And I call it the rise, fall, and rise of TNA/Impact, because I think right now it really is on the rise.
Yeah, we were actually. It's funny you say that. We have a group chat outside of this where all of us are on it, and then some of the audience as well. We chat about Impact. If you want to be added to it or mute it, we'll add you to it. It goes on pretty hard. But point being is we were actually coming up with names if there was a documentary based on TNA to Impact Wrestling and beyond, what would it be called? And Rise, Fall, and Rise was one of the choices there. Someone came up with. So it's an awesome name. Now, I have this whole thing written to introduce you as, this and this, all these superlatives. But the one I want to get to, and I'll get to your whole list of people you've interviewed. I think you could see that on our Twitter right now. Has been put up. You're the first certified DDP yoga instructor in Philly. We love DDP yoga.
Yeah.
DDP loves us. Hey, DDP. How'd that come about?
Yeah.
I just want to know.
No, that's a good point. Or a good question. So I bought his book, Yoga for Regular Guys. Back when it first came out, 15 years ago or whatever. And then I bought the DVDs. And then, it was one of those things where, like, when you're young and you're not in great, or you are, you're relatively skinny because genetics, you don't really have an excuse to work out. So I kind of, tried it, stopped. And then I interviewed him for my blog, I think in Christmas 2018. And I was like, all right, I was inspired by that conversation. I'm going to give it another go. And I thought, well, why don't I become a certified instructor? That'll kind of hold me accountable. And I did that, and I wound up being the first person to be certified in Philly. And I actually got to stay at DDP's house, the house where they filmed the Resurrection of Jake the Snake.
Were you roommates with him?
And
with Jake the Snake?
I actually was. So it was WrestleMania weekend of 2019, and I'm there sitting on the couch talking to Dallas's, mother-in-law at the time, and she's like, "Oh, Jake is home." And I look out the window, and Jake is rolling his luggage behind him, and he's walking toward the door. I'm like, "What the hell?" And I was like, "Jake is going to be here this week?" And she's like, "Yeah." Like, holy crap. So that was incredible. I got to spend the week with Jake the Snake Roberts. It was just, and then of course DDP dropped by, and I went to the Performance Center to do DDP yoga classes. It was just spectacular.
So when is that book coming out?
I don't know.
So
maybe that'll be after
I
these
actually want to touch on that. How did it go from to that? I mean, obviously you weren't writing for that, but you wrote about it in your blog and you investigated it, I guess technically. How did it go from that to these books, or was that something already in the works?
So prior to these books, I just interview celebrities or anyone who I find interesting for my blog. So I've interviewed musicians, everyone from Barry Manilow to Kiss to even actors like Kiefer Sutherland, Jack Bauer, from 24. So if I'm lucky enough to interview these people, I do it. And what you do is you use one name to get another name and then another name, and then people figure, okay, you must be someone if you're interviewing all these people. But really, anyone can do it. And I've interviewed a few wrestlers, including Mick Foley and Mark Romero, DDP, Jake, I forget who else. But, I just did it for the hell of it. I knew that DDP had a book coming out, and that's why I reached out to do an interview, because I figure if they have something coming out that you can help promote, that gives them a reason to want to talk to you. If they don't have anything that they're trying to sell, well, then it's harder. So I reached out to, I think I just reached out to the Performance Center because I didn't know who the heck to reach out to get DDP, and someone connected me to the right person.
That's really cool. Synergy. It's just about networking and talking to different people. Now, I do want to go, and this was the other thing I mentioned. I wanted to go through. You gave it, and it's on your website as well. If you don't see it in the corner there, we'll put a link up after the show. It's hisname.com. And he has some updates on there, but one of them is the wrestlers and all of the people you've interviewed, but not in complete detail. But the ones you list, we have Jeff Hardy, Gail Kim, Ken Shamrock, Chelsea Green, Rob Van Dam, Maria Kanellis, Diamond Dallas Page, Taryn Terrell, Raven, Nick Aldis, Petey Williams, Shane Douglas, Shark Boy, that's Craig's favorite, Al Snow, Eric Young, and Conan. That's just the tip of, and obviously daily, if you start following him, and you can see his Twitter handle there. Daily, we keep getting updates of, I think Angelina Love was today, is who you released?
Yeah, she was, and I didn't want to tell you because until it happens, I don't know if it's going to happen. Yeah, Angelina Love, so, one half of the original Beautiful People. Right. So I was thrilled that I had the chance to speak with her. She was really nice. We spoke for about 90 minutes, and we went through everything. And it was great. I mean, and I got to say, some of these interviews are really long, right? Some of them are an hour, some are 90 minutes. I've had ones that are 3 hours. It's like a pay-per-view.
Wow. Can you drop a name of one of the 3-hour ones?
Gail Kim is one of them, but we actually split it up. So we talked on a Saturday, and she said, I said, oh, okay. I said, because I knew when we had to end, because she had dinner plans. And I said, okay, I got through 2/3 of it. And she said, okay, do you want to talk again tomorrow? And I said, sure. Yeah. So I said, all right, what works for you? She gave me time, and we set it up, and that was that. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so, people have been very generous with their time. And, I've just been, for me, what I'm trying to do is make sure I get a good representation of the talent from beginning to end, but it's not just talent, as I'm sure you were going to reference.
I actually want to get into all of that maybe after Hot Topics, if you're okay with it. Hit up Hot Topics, see your point of view as well. It's nice. We always try to have someone on here to have not even the tiebreaker. We're all kind of different of when we started liking TNA or Impact, so we all have kind of different tastes, but generally the same. But we have 3 Hot Topics today. We usually have 5. I don't know, Max, you hear that critical listing? We have voices twice.
So let me look.
Yeah, take a look at that. Craig, if you want to start asking the first hot topic, maybe we could start with Michael and kind of swing around there.
Yeah. Okay. So the first topic will be, with all the more recent positivity towards vintage TNA wrestlers and the era is receiving, Moose obviously bringing me into the TNA World title again. Is it time to bring back a weekly TNA show?
Sure. So you want me to weigh in first? All right. Well, as you may be able to see, I'm wearing a TNA shirt here today because I figured it made sense. And it's so funny that you guys should ask this question because, I can't necessarily say who, but someone I spoke with implied that there was a plan for this, potentially, pre-COVID.
On a continuous, like a weekly show.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. Because if you remember, before COVID, they were supposed to have There's No Place Like Home. And they brought back, I guess, the TNA title around that time. So perhaps that was their thinking. I'm not sure. But I do think the fact that on the recent episode where Scott D'Amore mentioned, basically said recognizing it, I think that means something. So I do think that something's going to happen, and it'll be really interesting to see, what they do with it. Will they create they just, retired Explosion. Right. So are they going to replace it with something like a TNA show? I don't know. I really think they would pull in people who are lapsed fans, because there are people who say, why did they just change the name back to TNA and all that? So I do think that it actually would be pretty cool for people to kind of bring them in, because Impact is great. I think what they're doing is awesome. It's highly entertaining. That's really like the best storytelling there is. But if you can draw people in by kind of having an old school show that kind of taps into the nostalgia for TNA, then I'm all for it.
Same. Max, if it's okay, I'm gonna go next. Do you have something to say, Max?
Say real quick. We are getting a little bit of feedback. Just scroll through the sound bars real quick for me so I can look at them.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was saying thumbs up. It's only you and.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if maybe it may be catching off of somebody's mic, off of a.
Is it bad or no?
I mean, it's very, very slight, at least when I hear it. But you can just hear a little bit of reverb. Nothing. You can tell what everybody's saying pretty clearly. It's not. So we'll just have to get it looked at for next time. So sorry about that, guys.
So yeah, with that being said, we've talked about it. Speaking of technical difficulties, TNA quite often, as far as what would make it right to come back. Yeah, we recognize the championship, but if you don't have those right players in the place, is it still TNA? And you can look at that different ways. I mean, people, with the WWE ECW thing, we all have a bad taste in our mouth for revivals of that sort. So it's going to be a lot of prove it, but I think there's so many wrestlers from that era that are still able to go or could come in, and AMW I obviously think are going to return together. You have the OGs of LAX, you have all the James Storm and who's he with, Chris Amos, so Motor City Machine Guns, so you have all these moving parts. If you have them and you integrate some younger talent into that, maybe it's the second show of the week as in two separate entities, or continuous, and they go and they have their own war as well. Are they going to TNA instead of, are they going to WWE or AEW, whatever? Are they going to TNA or Impact? So the problem I have with it is I don't want to get my hopes up. One, if it doesn't happen, but two, if this was all just a reason to give Moose a title before he leaves, or if he does leave. And if they're unifying the title, that makes the most sense. We could go on about that forever, but Max, I'll let you get some time in. And
yeah, I would like there to be a TNA show. I don't know if it would be the second. I think putting out a second show would be a good idea. Possibly just maybe releasing it on the app so that it's always there. So if people want to watch it, you can. I think having their own feuds and then kind of carrying feuds over there would make people want to watch it. I also think it would be interesting because I always like the TNA name. I know people gave it kind of a bad rap because, it's, what TNA stands, what TNA could stand for. But I would think, I always really liked the TNA logo. I liked their belts always looked really good. I wouldn't mind if they just started using TNA in another way. Like, obviously, with New Japan, the IWGP is their, quote-unquote, governing body. That's where, their titles come from, the IWGP. So I wouldn't mind if they, I kind of liked it back in the day when it was, the show was Impact, the company was TNA. So I would kind of like it to go back to that, even if they don't officially change the name back to TNA, legally, if that's what they started doing. Their titles were the TNA titles, but Impact was their show. I really liked that, but obviously that would require rebranding all the titles. So I think that would be really well done because I really liked the way the titles looked, but I would like them to incorporate TNA in some way, shape, or form, because I think at this point they've built up enough good, I don't want to say karma, but I guess they built up enough good, I would just call it karma in general, with their fans that bringing back TNA doesn't instantly leave a bad taste in people's mouth, which is, I think, the reason why they kind of changed it at first.
We complain a lot. Sorry, I'm cutting out back and forth over you.
You're good.
We complain about the Goldbergs and TNA and all these things, or people coming back or whatever. Nostalgia sells. No matter what way you look at it, it does, and that's why the book is going to be a giant hit. We can laugh at it all day, but the numbers are there. They prove it. When we had our No Place Like Home, as you mentioned, all of our social media numbers were the largest they had been in quite a while. Now we are kind of on that plateau of where people are giving us, recognizing our good work, or the management's good work of putting it together. But I think in some way, shape, or form, it sells. It happens because the money's there. If it's not just for merch, it's the TV rights, who knows? But on top of that, I just want it to be done right. I don't know how to. I just am nervous. That's all I'm really in the back of my mind. I keep thinking about trying to be optimistic about this, but I don't want it to be what that 1 hour show was that we had on Access TV. Was it Access TV that we had it? The TNA throwback, and it had like, the Johnsons and stuff. Some random. That's for you, Max. Some random heads on it.
What's wrong with them?
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's a wait and see. Either way, though, I think it sells. Craig, do you?
Yeah, I've always been on the side of leave TNA where it is.
Right.
That's always been my feeling. But moving on to the second, the argument can be made. It's all how they're being used. But do you feel there's a double standard when it comes to Impact signing veterans now and in the past to other companies? Let's go to Max.
I mean, I think 100%. I know when Impact was signing a lot of the old WWE guys, like a lot of people were shitting on them because they're like, oh, you're just signing old guys from WWE, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, anytime WWE brings back old people are excited. Doesn't matter that 160-year-old Shawn Michaels just took out the Good Brothers just because. It doesn't matter that Kane walked out and pinned whoever. And people are like, cool, even with AEW's grabbing, 70-year-old Jericho, 95-year-old Sting, Taz is on there. They just brought out Tully Blanchard, who, I was expecting Tessa to come walking out because I was like, that's the only reason you're bringing him back on the show. So I feel like if people like the show, they look past those things. They completely ignore the fact that, example, Moose brought out the TNA title. Well, now Taz is going to bring back his FTW title and hand it to Brian Cage. Like, they're going to, if all that stuff happened in Impact, they're going to point out, oh, that's stupid, that's dumb. But because it's happening in a show that they like, they're just going to completely gloss over it. I just feel like that if you were to flip-flop the names, if Impact was hiring all of AEW's old guys and putting them on, people would be crapping on it. So I definitely feel that it's a double standard at this point just because people want to shit on Impact.
Is that me then? You're back around, yeah. So I'll make this one, quick on my end. Answer, yes. There's a double standard. I don't dwell on it anymore. I don't think I ever did, and I think this goes into play of what we talked about, PWI and all that. I'm a 34-year-old, man-child, but I'm still old enough to where I don't need the approval of others to like something or not like something, But as far as double standard, I want to get the statistics, and I talked to you off camera about that, Max, but if you really look at it, I think this plays right into the TNA thing that I was trying to materialize. It's all about how it's executed, right? And can you say, from my point of view, that we've made mistakes with legends before? Yeah, sure. We had the Nasty Boys come back. I get that. Val Venus beat Daniels in his first. Come on, man. It goes on. And depending on when you came in or how you look at that, that was good or bad. I look at it as bad. But at the same time, for every Val Venus there is, we've had Sting almost near his prime. And did right by him. We did right by Jeff Hardy, even though he kind of grew up with us as well. I even think, I know people
Kurt Angle and Christian Cage.
I think we did right with Kevin Nash. So I think it's all a matter of perspective, because this is an art form, and art is, is an eye of the beholder, the beauty of it. So the answer it's yes. But once again, it's how they use them. Is Big Show going to be wrestling every week and beating Darby Allin for the TNT title? Then we have a problem that we could talk about. But once again, I think it's just a matter of people, like you said, are going to pick on what's not their company, which is ironic because Impact is probably the least of that, are the fan bases. We just want to be kind of, left alone and do our own thing. And it's unfortunate, but yeah, it's a double standard. Kick it to Michael.
Yeah, I agree with you as well that it is a double standard. But one thing I think it's nice is when you compare, the Hogan era with the way they used Legends to the way Legends are being used now by TNA. And a good example is like RVD, Sabu, Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer is a great example. I think they use them well. Like Tommy's a perfect example because it's funny because he's really kind of like enhancement talent at this point. But everybody still likes him. People don't look at him as a jobber. People don't look at him as taking someone's spot. Yeah, he got the title match against Rich Swann, but it was just this great kind of like Rocky underdog story where you thought for a moment the way they were building it, like, wait a minute, are they going to give him the title? Like it makes you kind of wonder. But in the process, he gave Rich Swann the rub and obviously set up the whole Moose match. So they use it for a purpose now, where before I think it was just, let's just hire this person and maybe people will pay attention to us. It was less strategic. So, and I do think that, AEW seems to do a pretty good job with the Legends. Obviously, DDP was one of them. But yeah, there's definitely double standard. And I also do think that when it comes to AEW, for whatever reason, people treat it like a cult. Like the people who like really love it, they're like deranged. I mean, I don't understand why they're so like hardcore. I mean, I'm not trying to like. It's just they're a bit. Some of them.
It's fair.
Are
it's
a bit
fair
extreme.
Assessment. It's a fair assessment.
No, I agree. It very much reminds me of Monday Night Wars, where people were like so hardcore about their program. Yeah, and that's what it is with AEW. Like people who like AEW are like, and I'm pretty sure. And granted, I don't particularly like the man, but it was Mark Madden. I'm pretty sure he basically mentioned something to the effect of that. I'm trying to look it up, but I can't find it. It was a while ago. Basically, you can't criticize AEW at all, or else people attack you. He's not saying that the show is bad, but it's not perfect. And he's like simply saying that, like Dave Meltzer reached out and was like, imagine being so out of touch, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I don't like Mark Madden, but I agree with that. Like if you can't sit there and say this show overall was a 7 out of 10, here's the things that they missed on without people attacking you. Like that's just weird. That I think a cult is a great way to describe it. Like
and that's the thing.
They're all about it.
Even back in the day, I don't think us hardcore day one TNA guys were like that. We loved it. I still watched WWE. I still watched everything else. You know what I mean? So even though I was a diehard fan, I don't think we've crossed that line. But I think that's these kids that are like that, or even some of the older heads. It's a product of the time. They're a victim of social media, and we didn't have that when TNA first exploded, right? It wasn't this accessible where we can complain or argue about it and pick sides. You have to choose and whatever. We enjoyed it or you did not. But yeah, I could agree with that, and it has become toxic. I think the next question kind of touches on where do we go from here, or is the tone changing? Excuse me, and how do we progress from there? So let's kick it to that, and then we'll go continue this topic. There you go.
Yeah. So the final topic is the dreaded paid ads. We're back again. This time with a much different tone. Are you over these paid ads? Do you prefer the new tone? Take it to Michael. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so I was actually just watching it today. I don't like the ads that pick on Impact too much. I feel like they're kind of... but I feel like because they happen so frequently, because it's every week, they kind of... It takes away from the... it kind of deflates them. So I think like if it was once, yeah, maybe it might matter, but because it's like every single week, it's just like, okay, this is what they do. I do think that the different tone was, is better, but they are pretty damn long, right? That's the thing that really struck me. I was like, my God, they're really taking a lot of time here to like run through the card and everything. And it was interesting. And I've been in talks with people in AEW, and I was on actually the media briefing with Cody Rhodes. I didn't get to ask him a question, unfortunately. If I did, I was going to ask him about Impact. But Yeah,
should
I
ask
think
him about that neck tattoo. That neck tattoo.
I think the ads are interesting. And I'm sure, like many of you guys, I do think it would be nice if AEW kind of returned the favor a little bit. Not that we need paid ads on their show, but get kind of referencing what's coming up, like Sacrifice or Rebellion or something like that. I think would be a good way to kind of return the favor. Maybe they feel like they don't need to because they're the bigger brand, but I do think it would be a little, just kind of balance things out more.
Is it me, bud? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I see both sides of the coin here, but I'll stick to it. I'm a firm believer in those paid ads were brilliant because they did what they were supposed to do, right? If you watch, and I won't harp on it too much, but if you watch the show and you're not a dirt sheet reader, you don't know that Impact has had money issues. You don't know that if you're not a social media person, you're not investigating the product. You watch it because it's a television show and you enjoy it. So if you're not a dirt sheet writer, you don't maybe know the stigma that Impact has. Or reader, excuse me, dirt sheet reader. So you needed to set up the David and Goliath. You needed to tell people the story of, we are the annoying, rich, snotty kids, and you guys are the poor, ones that have failed. And it's just a blessing that we're paying for these ads. It was nuclear heat. And that's so rare in this business where you could get people all together agreeing that something was douchey or shitty or he is a heel. The problem with this week is, had they started with this tone from the get-go, I would be okay with it. The problem is they caved to the internet. And because they caved to the internet, all of that shit they were saying is just now, oh yeah, that's true, you're right. And there's nothing to it. Because we're not, the thing is why would AEW in kayfabe let us on their show? There'd be no reason. They're the rich kids. They don't need us. Our talent isn't better than theirs. Why do we need any rub from Impact? So we wouldn't be on their show. They wouldn't advertise for us. They wouldn't let us in the building. You would rile up Impact and its wrestlers to one day the pop, it would go through, well, negative. It would be heat when they would do this on their show, but our crew would break in on a Dynamite and knock the doors down and mess the place up. But because now we're buddy and we all have the same agenda and the WWE is the real whatever, it just erased all of that in 1 2-minute clip. And that's unfortunate because we just got shit on, and that was the payoff. The payoff was we go knock their door down and we have the right to. But now we're the douches if we do that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you there. Like the way their ads were starting out, and the way it started out with like Kenny Omega coming in, challenging, like talking down to Rich Swann, it really felt like it was eventually going to lead to Impact versus AEW. And now maybe it doesn't necessarily have to start out as champion versus champion. It can be mid-card guys versus mid-card guys. Their guys are coming over and wrestling ours. Our guys are going over and wrestling theirs. And it just slowly builds to that. But I feel like now, I don't know, that never happened. Like you had the Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann match. Rich Swann lost. We had talked, I don't know if it was on this, I don't know if it was on here or just you and I discussing the fact of like, does Moose become the savior of TNA and blah, blah, blah. And at least on AEW, like they don't really, I mean, obviously when Anderson and Gallows are there, they mention, oh yeah, it's Anderson and Gallows are the Impact Tag Team Champions, blah, blah, blah. But outside of that, there's no other Impact stuff going on. They'll talk about Private Party coming on. Well, they challenge for the Impact Tag Team Champion, but there's no Impact guys that are there wrestling. So I feel like I'm okay with the ads if it leads to even if it's not like a hardcore champion versus champion, some type of rivalry where Chris Bay or Ace Austin go over there and are like, you know what? I'm just going to start wrestling people. Who cares? You know what I mean? And just does something to kind of create some type of little rivalry there to where maybe on Impact show or let's say you just send Chris Bay over there and he wins 3 matches. Well, then Impact during their show can give a little jab. Well, Chris Bay, by the way, he's 3-0 in AEW against their guys. It's just some little thing there to slowly build up an eventual clash, as opposed to just, like you said, them shitting on us and then being like, we're done shitting on them.
Well, it's the same thing there. So, he said that Brian Cage world title jab was ridiculous, and it was for 2 reasons. One, we finally started to get that this was all a wink. You know what I mean? I think everyone stood back and was like, okay, we all know Brian Cage's world title run was shit, right? And then they played off of that. And the second reason I liked it was because he stumbled on his words, which was some kind of gratifying. I try to be a good human, but it was something gratifying about that. But yeah, so all these things should have led to a payoff, and we don't get a payoff. Now we look like, well, I don't know if we can say that, cuckolds on here, but we look like we were just taking it on the chin for, thank you for sending Private Party to us, and that's unfortunate, and they caved, and I hope there's a backup plan, and if we're switching and we're the heels, I'm okay with that. But we shouldn't be taking this on the chin. And I love Critical Listening 17's idea there. Sammy, or was it Io? Who is it? Sammy hacking into it could have been the first step, right? We can't get in the show. We can't get through the doors. Let's hack the show first. Then who knows? Maybe, Vanguard 1 comes and teleports us there. I don't know how it works. But the point is there were opportunities for this to be good, and I hope that wasn't thrown away with this cheesy paid ad. Craig?
Yeah, hate it. Hate it.
Craig is a man of many words.
Oh, man. Are we thinking that it's going to continue, though? We have a little bit of time. Do you think these paid ads will continue? Or do we think that was the payoff, them being nice to us for once?
I mean, if I'm shouting at my TV telling Tony Khan to F off, I'm guessing he's doing his job. But I'm over these ads. I'm done. It's clean not going in a direction that would make more sense. So I don't see the point in them.
I don't know. Could be talked about many different ways, and the only way we'll know, just like as Max was mentioning, AEW Revolution, the only way we know who debuts on that, or the only way we know what happens with Impact, is just watching what happens and enjoying it. I think the problem is the unknown, and that's the good and the bad of this. But
I think you can eventually go to a point where instead of them being AEW shit on Impact, you just say, hey, it's a partnership. So AEW runs ads on Impact, just promoting AEW programs, and Impact runs ads on AEW promoting Impact. Because eventually, obviously, the Wednesday night wars are now over. AEW has officially won, as now NXT is moving to Tuesday nights.
For another day.
Yeah, so if that's what's going to happen, Impact, now granted, it's going to be a completely different animal because Impact isn't on a major network. But if they're going to want to somewhat compete with that, they either switch nights to Thursdays, or AEW on their shows starts pumping up Impact. Watch Impact, because then, like, it is your combined enemy, or your, what are the words I'm thinking about here? Like, your main enemy is the WWE. So now instead of it being AEW versus Impact, it's just, just like it was when it was ROH and New Japan. We're just a partnership. We're going to help each other out.
That's the only way to acknowledge it. But even if that happens, we still are taking it on the chin. So something needs to happen. But
yeah, I mean, I agree.
Right, but Craig, you want to run us out? We're going to go to another commercial real quick, 30 seconds. It's going to be the Meltzer ad, and then we will come back for Feast and Fired, the Q&A, and calls as well.
I'm excited to talk about this book.
Yeah.
Or books.
So that was the hot topics. As Geoff said, kick it to that commercial of doing pretty well. So let's take a look.
Tired of trolling but not getting the clout you deserve? At Dave Meltzer's School of Clowning, we'll teach you everything from shitting on Impact to really shitting on Impact. Enroll now for the low, low price of $11.99 a month, and you too can be just like Dave. Other classes include Bringing People Down 101 and Calling Myself a Journalist but Calling Companies by the Wrong Name. Use the code BIASPAYSMYBILLS for 15% off at checkout. All right, and we're back. All right, so I'm gonna do a couple things. I'm gonna introduce the game, tell you guys how to play it, and then we'll do a little Q&A with Michael here and have some calls as we play the game. Just kind of have the last of this time having fun here. So Feast or Fire, it's gonna be very simple. When it's your turn, you're gonna pick a number 1 through 4, just like Feast or Fired. You'll get a question, and you can either answer it for 2 points or pass it, and you get 0, right? But there's only 9 questions, so figure out what ones you're going to pass, be strategic about that, or don't at all. It's just fun. But as you can see there, our high scored, IO there, 1,000 points. Points don't matter, but he won our last game. He guessed, who was it? Douglas Williams, right? Douglas? Yeah, on the first guess, so.
Oh yes, that when Craig had to pick somebody and he happened to pick the British guy, like of course the British guy's going to select a British guy.
On the spot.
Before we play that, I do want to go down and we had started to mention it about Michael's book here of his roster of interviews already, and if you once again after this we'll put the link on Twitter, but it's Michael Cavacini at .com. Go there, it has all the info, but you'll see this as well. 40 plus current and former employees, including those in creative, marketing, audio, music, production, licensing, affiliate relations, live events, merchandising, and more. Good Lord, my friend. 7 executives from SpikeTV and Fox Sports Net. Love that era. 7 industry influencers, including wrestling promoters, writers, and the editor-in-chief of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Our buddy. Referees, including TNA Hall of Famer Earl Hebner, I can't read today. Members of the broadcast team, including Don West. Managers, including Father James Mitchell. Management from Universal Studios, the original home. Midway execs. And head music composer Dale Oliver, the man, the myth, the legend that is Dale Oliver. So Michael, where do you want to start? I'll let it to you. I know we talked about a few things prior to the show. But do you want to start with the second to last thing there? Can you talk about the Midway tidbit?
Yeah. Sure. So I'm the same age or close to the same age as you. So I grew up wrestling video games, all that good stuff, and I actually really like the TNA video game. I think graphically it still looks impressive. It's also 60 frames per second, so it moves really smoothly, and the animations are incredible. And even just the sound of hitting the ring is just like impactful. So I feel like for everything it is, it's great. But the thing is that obviously people were thinking, well, what could be next, right? How could they build on this? So when I interviewed, I interviewed Sal DeVita, who is the creator of the game. For Midway, he also helped. He worked on NBA Jam, Mortal Kombat, NFL Blitz. I mean, all sorts of amazing arcade games that we all grew up playing and loving. And I'm going to be interviewing the studio head of Midway in the coming weeks. And he's the one who did the deal with Dixie and Geoff. So that'll be really interesting to talk to him about that and what it was like negotiating with them and all that good stuff. But I have gotten all sorts of goodies as it relates to the video game. I mean, I've gotten videos of them recording sound, commentary and sound bites in a hotel room closet. I've gotten storyboards. I've gotten photos that Sal took at a TNA event that they went to. Photos that they took of the Impact Zone to document it so they could recreate it in the game. And just this week, I got information about the sequel to TNA, which they started working on. I have in my hands, I have 4 documents, 1 or 2 versions of the script for the first game. One is before Suicide, and one is after Suicide was added. and then I have two scripts, or I have a script and an outline for the sequel. So I read the entire story for the single-player campaign for Tnaiw video game 2. And
That's awesome.
It was really interesting where they were going to take it and what they were going to do with it. Because the storyline for the first game was actually the best part of the game. Like, it was like pretty cool. So to see where they were going to take it in the sequel is really fascinating. And of course, I'm going to share all of this, and I guess it would be in the first book. Because that would be the time that it would have come out, because I think the date on it is 2009. So they were working on this in 2009. And then there's the outline for the game, which reveals some additional information about what they were considering adding to the game. Because there were certain things that they just couldn't add because of timing, because they just had to get it done. So, there's going to be at least one chapter
that's
dedicated.
Awesome. So you guys heard it here. Go to his website. We already agreed off air, so we'll have him on once a month just to give us updates, see where he's at and his journey. But let's actually go to that journey. I want to see who was the first interview. Where did this, was it a wrestler? Was it, I know you said it was a culmination of them, but when you first said, hey, I'm doing this book, can I have this interview? Do you remember that day and who it was?
I'm going to start with something first before we get to that. First, I want to say the inspiration. So the inspiration was actually Eric Bischoff. So I listened to his 83 Weeks podcast, which I listened to, pretty frequently. And in it, he started doing TNA episodes. And this past summer, I was listening to an episode, and he mentioned how there's this false narrative that AEW is the first serious competition to WWE since the fall of WCW. And he said, no, it's not. TNA is the first competitor, and TNA was attracting 2 million fans a week, 10, 11 years ago. And, WWE and AEW would kill for those kinds of numbers now. And I thought, wow, he's right. There's lots of misinformation about TNA, about Eric and Geoff and Dixie and the company in general, because all we know is what's online because no one's written a book about it. So having read the Nitro book about WCW and having interviewed the author, Guy Evans, I thought, why don't I do what he did for WCW for TNA?
That's awesome.
And to your point, who the heck did I talk to first? Well, my first phone call was technically with Jeff Jarrett. And that was just dumb luck, the way that worked out. Because, you send out a bunch of emails and you see who gets back to you. Well, Jeff got back to me pretty quickly. We had a phone call. I was, a little nervous because it's like my first phone call is with the founder of the company, and he was wonderful. And he just had some great thoughts for me. And I think the next day I had my first real interview, because Jeff wasn't an interview; he was just a phone call, just to talk about it. First interview was Matt Morgan. And Matt was great. I mean, we talked. Actually, I think we did 2 interviews technically. And he was, wonderful, really helpful, and just lots of interesting information from him, because he was in WWE as well as TNA. So we kind of talk about those experiences. And then one other thing I'll mention is I think the next day after that was my first employee interview. And that was with Mike Weber, who was the vice president of marketing for TNA and is currently the chief operating officer for FIGHT.
Oh, wow. And, oh, is he still there? Did we lose him? There we go. So, okay. Can you guys hear me? It's freezing on my end. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Here, will someone else go while I fix this?
Yeah, so who, out of all the people that you've interviewed, who was the one that you were most looking forward to? Because I know when we were talking, I don't know if it was on the episode or before the episode, you mentioned that sometimes you don't actually know if the interviews are going to actually happen until they do, because obviously things come up. So who was the person that you were just most looking forward to interviewing that you have so far?
Probably Jeff Hardy. So I was, if you told me that I would have talked to Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy for this project back in November when I first started this, I would have been like, get out of here. No way. Because, Jeff is on WWE. He's still, a huge star. He's, a living legend. So one day I got a text message from Jeff Hardy, and I was like, oh, my God. I was like a little girl. I was like, freaking out. Because I knew that, someone I met through this process gave him my information, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be interviewing Geoff about his music career or if I was going to interview him about TNA. And the reason why is because the person who set it up wasn't sure if he was allowed to talk about TNA because he's with WWE. So when I set up a call with Geoff, I didn't even know at that time if we were going to talk about TNA, if we were going to talk about music. So I just wrote all these questions, and then I got on the phone with him, and I'm like, so what have you heard? And he's like, oh, I heard you're writing this book about TNA. And I was like, yes. Then he wants to talk about TNA. So I got through all my questions with Geoff. And so, yeah, for me, Geoff was the most exciting, and the reason why is because he's Jeff Hardy, number one. And also, two, I've learned through this process that he is the most popular wrestler in TNA history. And what I mean by that is he outsold everyone else when it came to merchandise. It was him for the guys, and for the women, it was Velvet Sky.
Go figure.
You're telling me he outsold AJ Styles?
Yes, he's a rock star.
Yeah, he did.
Man.
Actually,
that's just disappointing.
Yeah,
so he outsold AJ Styles and the Johnsons.
God.
That's
amazing. So we have a lot of questions for Michael, and you guys do too. Actually, we're gonna, if you're okay with it, guys, we're gonna play a little of the game. Go to one of those calls. If Lucia, if you're ready, we'll call you right after a couple questions, and keep this going. We're running tight on time, but we'll make it happen. Make sure Craig stays awake. We'll make this work. Let's start with the guests. Michael, what number would you like, bud?
1 through 9, you said, right?
1 through 4.
1 through 4. 3.
Okay. So this question is yours. You could choose to answer. If you get it right, you get +2. You get it wrong, you get -2, but you could pass for free. The only thing that happens is you're setting up Max or whoever's to, that would be Max, then Craig, for getting another question correct. All right. So this is about 1 out of 4. What's the thing that doesn't fit? Okay. So I want to know which one of these wrestlers was never a member of a Team Canada. World Cup, X Cup, the group with Scott D'Amore, which I guess technically they all were. No, the first one wasn't. So here are your people. You got TJ Wilson, Jack Evans, Johnny Devine, or Teddy Hart. Which one of these wrestlers was never a part of Team Canada, World Cup, and beyond? You can answer or you could pass. TJ Wilson, Jack Evans, Johnny Devine, and Teddy Hart.
I think it's TJ Wilson.
All right, you're locking that in. TJ Wilson, 2 points. Jack Evans, although American, was a member of. All right, so we'll go to Craig. Craig, you haven't been able to do much. Sorry, Max. We'll go to Craig.
That's
right,
fine.
Number
I'm
1
playing
through
with
4.
my cat, so.
Take
2. All right, so same thing, different group, different faction. This one's about Immortal, so kind of up your alley. This is about when you were a fan, right? Okay. So if you do want to answer it, +2 if you get it right, -2 if you get it wrong, or you could pass it to Max. Oh wait, no, excuse me. You pass it to you'll go this way, so you'll pass it to Max. All right, here are the 4 wrestlers: Scott Steiner, Samoa Joe, Matt Hardy, Bully Ray. Which one of these is never part of Immortal?
Matt Hardy. No. Damn.
Do you need me to repeat?
What options again?
Okay. Scott Steiner,
Matt Hardy,
Samoa Joe, Matt Hardy, Bully Ray. Not a part of Immortal.
Joe.
What was your answer? Joe, are you locking that in?
Joe.
Yeah.
Joe is the correct answer, Craig. Would you have a mess? What did he say originally? Matt Hardy, yeah.
Matt Hardy.
Dreadlocks, Matt Hardy. He was there. All right, so everyone's got 2 except Max. It's your go, buddy. 1 through 4.
1.
All right, this one is for the X Championship. You should get this, I hope.
X Division Championship?
Cold-blooded Matt Hardy.
Okay.
There we go. And then we'll take a call. We'll do 3 and then we'll take a call. Which one of these was never an X Division champion? Is it Alex Shelley, X-Pac, Kid Cash, Jeff Hardy?
Jeff
Are you
Hardy.
locking that in?
Yes.
Jeff Hardy. That's ironic. Jeff Hardy is the correct answer. Correct answer. Would you guys got that right? Okay, I see a lot of Jeff there. Does anyone know the Botchamania? What was it? Jeff Harvey, right? Jeff Harvey is the guy announced him as in WWE. Yeah, that was a good time.
I don't know. I remember Full Metal
Mayhem. You eat a ham? Is that what you're doing?
I remember that.
All right, so Lucha, or actually, no, I see Cody just react. Let's get Cody. Cody, we're going to call you, buddy. Answer it, ask your question, and make sure the sound works. There we go. All right, bear with us. First time. Cody, you there, buddy? Mike Adamley. Yes, that was his name.
He is not.
Oh, yeah.
It says 4 of 5 in call. He's coming.
Okay.
He's not here yet.
Oh,
Cody joined the call.
giving us play-by-play. Cody, you there, buddy?
Cody.
Up. He's coming. He's locked. I can see him attempting to come in.
There he is.
Hey, Cody.
Hey.
Welcome, Cody.
Holy shit, that was fucking loud.
Good, you guys?
Doing well. You got
Doing
Michael
well.
on here, bud. What do you got to ask him?
Who have you not picked up on the interview that you want to?
Good question.
That's a good question. So, well, here, I'll give you two. One, I'll give you a man, I'll give you a woman. For woman, Velvet Sky. I'd like to talk to her. So we'll say
As
that.
would I.
Yeah. So we'll see where that goes. As for a guy, who would I want to interview that I haven't interviewed? Mr. Anderson.
That would be
Ken
interesting.
Anderson.
Oh.
Those are really two good choices. I'm surprised that you haven't had the opportunity to interview them.
Well, we'll see.
Time will tell. I think Velvet has something to promote now, so she might do the interview. Thanks, Cody. We're gonna drop you off, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Cody.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Oh, it says kicked out, Misery Eater. That's sad. I'm not kicking him out. I'm just just letting him go. All right, guys. Just letting him down.
Letting him down nice and slow.
Thanks, Cody, for the call. We'll get to Lucha in just a moment. Let's do another round, starting with Michael again. Why don't you pick a number, 1 through 4? One. All right.
1.
So this is another group. You have to tell me which one of these wrestlers was never a member of this group. The group is World Elite. World Elite. The original Elite.
All right.
World Elite. All right. We have
The
original
original
Elite. We have Sean Davari. Gimmicks don't matter, by the way. I just want to mention for all of these gimmicks, as long as it's their name. Sean Davari. 2, Kevin Nash. 3, Okada. Or 4, Homicide. You can answer for 2 points, get it wrong for -2, or pass it to Max.
I got past what's his face? Craig.
This would purely be a guess because I was actually talking, I think, with Eric Young about this the other day, and yeah, I don't think Homicide is part of it. But I mean, I don't claim to know everything about TNA. I am learning just as much through this whole process.
Investigative journalist. Investigative journalist.
Right.
Are you gonna pass or do you want to answer? You gonna lock it in?
Yeah, what the heck?
Homicide?
Homicide.
All right. That is wrong. That's incorrect. You're down to 0. Homicide was part of it. Kevin Nash was part of it. Davari as Sheik Abdul Bashir was part of it, and Okada was not a part of it.
See, he would have been my second choice.
He had a bad run for a different reason, but all right, who's next? Craig, you're up next, buddy.
Yeah, it's go number 4.
All right. This is for the World Championship.
Yes, Kevin Nash was.
I know Kevin Nash was. Oh,
I know. So I'm saying villain.
Did some research for once. All right, this is World. So all of the people I'm about to name have at least 2 reigns, but only one has more.
Okay.
1, EC3. 2, Bobby Roode. 3, AJ Styles. Or 4, Austin Aries. You can answer it for 2 points, get it wrong for -2, or pass it to Max.
So I've got to guess the one who had
whoever
more reigns.
Out of there has one of them has more than 2 reigns.
AJ.
You locking that in? Or... It might be right. I asked that to everybody. To Craig.
Yeah, it's got to be AJ. He's hang on.
See, Craig makes like 6 guesses.
Are you gonna lock it in?
He instantly gives you a name. AJ Styles. Hold on.
I'm doing it the same way.
Because I know Aries is like a 3 time, but I can.
Well, then that would be he's more than 2.
As well. I can count. Off the top of my head, I can go for 3 for AJ. I'm gonna stick with AJ. I think it's like 4.
Locked in. That is incorrect.
Yeah.
You're tied for second place. There you go, with 0 points. The answer was Aries. AJ has only had. We were talking about TNA World Title. He had two reigns.
Oh, down. We're on TNA. I was thinking NWA title as well.
I'll give you 1 point for that. Maybe I didn't clarify. I'll give you a point. Second place, 1 point. All right, Max, your pick, bud.
3.
Max, you're lucky. You get Knockouts Tag Team titles. All right, so I'm going to give you 4 wrestlers, 4 knockouts. You're going to tell me which one of them has never held a Knockout Tag Team title.
Okay.
And then I have a bonus question for all of you, for worth 1 point, and then we'll bring Lucha on here. I barely remember. Aries is 2 reigns. You guys are brutal tonight. All right. 1, Awesome Kong. 2, Winter. 3, Raisha Saeed.
Oh my God.
Or 4, Angelina Love.
You said the one who has not?
Once again, you're in the lead, so you could pass it if you want to take that chance.
I know. I'm thinking here.
Once again, Awesome Kong. Try to think of who their tag team partner would be, right? Winter.
What's I'm trying to think.
Raisha Saeed and Angelina Love.
Winter?
Locking it in?
Yeah.
That is incorrect. Awesome Kong.
Did she win it with Angelina Love?
She did. With Hamada. Winter held it with Angelina.
Okay.
Raisha Saeed never. It wasn't the one that won it with Awesome Kong. So.
Okay, so that's who I was thinking that she won it with, was Kong, and I knew Angelina's also won it with Velvet, right?
Nah.
Madison, Lacey, and that group there, or Lacey and Velvet, the 2 technical wrestlers.
Okay, see, I thought. Yeah, I thought.
Now here is
Angelina won it with
a bonus question. You're all tied. Well, Max, Craig is in the lead with 1 point, so this will give someone a tie for first.
Craig is just some garbage 1 point that Craig picked up.
Well, come on, I didn't say TNA, so I'll give him that. Oh, I did?
Yeah, you did. I think you did.
I think I said World. All right, anyways.
I don't think so.
Okay.
We'll listen back on the
So
video and we'll take a point away from him if we need to edit this.
Fire and Flava are the current Impact Tag Team champions. World Knockouts Tag Team, whatever. How many days, so it's whoever's closest, either way, over or under. How many days longer do they have to hold the title to break the current number 1 days held? Michael, you're the guest, so you could choose to go first or last on this.
I'll go last.
Craig, let's give it to you, bud.
I'm gonna say, because obviously the last reign was EY and ODB, they held it for what felt like years and years. So I'm gonna say 350.
Okay, so Craig with 350.
How many days have they held it so far?
Can't tell you that.
Why?
48.
Okay. I want to say like 3, but I don't think it's that few. But I'll go with 3.
Okay. Michael, your guess?
400.
400. Okay. So we'll start with Max. Max, you are 427 days off. Craig, you were 80.
Dang.
And Michael, you're the closest. It's 430 days longer or more that they have to hold these titles to break ODB, to erase that abomination from our record history, our history book. Oh my God. Okay, so the score is 1-1-0. Max, you're in last place. Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
So we're going to call in Lucha here. We're going to get a question from Michael, and then we're going to finish the game and talk some more questions. We get, oh yeah, that's right. Got to give this government name. Where is it? There it is.
It's not Lucha Doncic isn't his government name?
Doncic is not his
Wow, that's surprising. I thought it was.
Do we? Okay, while we're waiting, does anyone actually think someone will break that record? Hey.
Probably not. Yeah.
No.
It's going to be hard, man. If they do
Unfortunately
that
not.
any other way than not any way they do it, it's going to be wrong, right? How do you book someone for that long to hold it without it being thrown in the trash? And then inevitably found by Eric Young and worn around.
I mean, the New Day held WWE titles forever. You just have to make them a dominant tag team.
Just do a tag team version of what they did with Deanna. She won the KO belt. Not Deanna, Taya.
And the North and everybody else, they try to erase the record book. All right, you guys can't see him, but he's wearing the dopest sweater I've ever seen. It is a bright pink Bret Hart one. Everyone welcome Lucha to the show. Lucha, you're on with Michael.
What up?
Hey, Lucha.
Okay, so I've had like 50 billion questions pop through my head, but for the past 5 minutes, they've all involved the video game. So, what was probably the most shocking thing that you found out that didn't make the first game?
Oh, that didn't make the first game. Yeah. I don't know about shocking, but I guess kind of like unfortunate. Well, yeah, here's like kind of the dumbest one, I guess, is the steel cage. That didn't make it into the game because it seems like such a basic thing, right? 6 sides of steel. So that would have been a natural thing to include in there. And obviously the knockouts. I mean, I think that when you look at the history of TNA, the three things that made TNA special were the tag team division, the knockouts, and the X division. So they obviously had 2 of the 3 represented in the first game, but they just, I guess, didn't have time to include the knockouts, which is unfortunate because, those women really were amazing, and it would have been, think about how awesome that would be to have Gail Kim in there or Awesome Kong. I mean, she was just like crazy. Like I remember being in college and watching her and just being like, damn, this woman's incredible. So yeah, to be able to control her in a video game, that'd be pretty badass.
Well, obviously now it would be, or would have been, excuse me. But even being in WWE, was she ever a playable character in anything?
I don't think so.
I think in that one SmackDown versus Raw she was on there, but it was just that one.
Let's see. In the meantime, Lucha, you had a question in the room that I was saving for you to ask, but I guess you went a different route. What was? Do you want to ask that one too?
You talking about the great race for NWA DOA in 04?
No, you mentioned just as far as what surprised him, not about the game, but just in I think it was something along those lines.
There's a lot of fables on the internet about TNA. What was one of the more surprising fables that you found out to be false?
Sure.
From doing this process.
Sure, and one of them is that people have asked why is the certain episodes of Impact not on Impact Plus, and some people have said that it's because Viacom or Spike owns certain episodes because they perhaps that when they if they paid for Hulk Hogan or they paid for some wrestlers, maybe part of that deal was that they're going to own the rights to some of that content, and that's why we haven't seen it. Well, that's not true. I spoke with the president of Viacom. I spoke with the president of Spike. I spoke with Scott Fishman, who was working for Spike, and he was at all the tapings. And all of them have said that that's just simply not true. It was a licensing deal. There was no ownership. So in other words, they were licensing TNA for Spike. So anything that ever aired is owned by TNA, so now it's owned by Anthem. So all of that content should be put on Impact Plus, and I can tell you that I interviewed someone who talked about why it's not up there, and he simply said it's just a resources issue. They just need people and they need time to upload it. So it'll
hire me. I can be the people.
Well, you guys, you heard it here first.
Take over it.
What'd you say, buddy?
Me and Mike G for Impact Plus.
It probably taped over it like they did with the anthology.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Let's hope not.
So, to answer the question, by the way, she was in 2 games. She was in WWE 13 and WWE 12. Now, I am going to post as my background picture. So, you want to talk about how good the graphics for the Impact game were? I'm going to post a background picture of Booker T in the Impact game and then in WWE 12, and I'm going to leave the screen so you can see this.
Jesus Christ. Don't. Jesus Christ.
Did that change?
That is ridiculous.
That was like Booker F.
That is Booker T and TNA Impact and some guy that they are trying to pass off as Booker T in WWE 12.
That's G.I. Bro all grown up.
You know what that looks like to me? That looks like if you were to pull out your game of like WWE No Mercy and you were like, I need to make me a Booker T character. Man. That's what you came up with.
Oh, God.
Or like if you were trying to remember what Booker T looked like from memory, you're like, I think that's what he looked like. That's close enough.
Thank you, Lucha. We're going to get you off this call, bud. Thank you for calling in, as always. Yeah, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
All right, well, that was a laugh. But you heard it here first. Breaking news: you can get through to people who run the Impact Plus app. Michael has done it, so it is possible. You guys can contact somebody and get your thing fixed. All right, so we got one more round of this game that I want to get to, but I don't know, Craig. Did you get to ask a question? I want to make sure that in case you fall asleep standing up, you get to ask Michael a question.
I mean, honestly, I had a list, but most have been asked and answered. I don't want to push and go too far. I also don't nothing major spoiled. But just basically, obviously, wrestling fan is obviously being involved in this way is how can I put it? Being involved in wrestling, is that something you want to eventually be, or is it you're just happy just being a fan and writing this book as a journalist?
Do you mean like physically?
Yeah, being involved in some sort of way in the wrestling business.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to physically compete. I can tell you that. I do not have the ability. But I do think that it would be fun. Like, I do kind of, think about whenever the book comes out that, I would definitely go to conventions or be on panels or obviously do interviews like this. Because I'm a PR person and a marketing person by day, so that's my my area of expertise. So I'm absolutely happy to do that. Would I write anything beyond these two books? I don't know, because like actually a friend told me I should write a third book about the process of writing the two books. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, right? Because people might want to know, well, how'd you get all those interviews? What did you do? And what was it like writing it? And all this other stuff. How did you get the photos? Whatever it is. But yeah, so I think that I feel like anytime you're a creative person, you want to bond with other creative people. So every time I interview one of these wrestlers or a musician or whoever, I feel like we're connecting in some meaningful way. So, I mean, and something I'll tell you is that I've gone backstage to lots of concerts because I interview people and they give you backstage passes. So I really look forward to the opportunity to hopefully meet Jeff Hardy in real life and to meet some of these people, hopefully at these events in the future, because I would love to kind of meet them after having these conversations. And so, yeah, I think wrestling will always be a part of me because it's, something I grew up with, something I'm passionate about, something I really care about. And I think through this project, it's just made me appreciate it more. So I think I'll always be involved in some capacity. Don't think it'll ever take over my life completely.
But I think that's something we have.
I don't think my wife would like that.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think that's something we all have in common here. We as you get older, your fandom can only last but how much your life lets you. How flexible your life is. And doing this show and talking, to friends and then obviously new fellow Impact fans or old Impact fans, whatever, it brings a sense of that flame back in you, of wanting to do it. It doesn't mean I'm going to head to a ring anytime soon, but I'd probably crawl there. But
I will be.
But yeah, so I do want to ask one question before we get, and then I'll let you pick 1 through 3, and we'll see who wins this epic game here. What era did you start liking TNA Impact? Was it NWA TNA? Was it Fox Sports Net? Where was it?
It's a good question. I think it was Spike. I think that's when I got into it. So maybe it was 2006, 2007, I think. I believe it was still Booker T, Kurt Angle, Sting, people like that. And yeah, so that's kind of my era. And what I've learned through these interviews is that it seems like 2008, 2009 is really when the company was on fire when it comes to quality and even financial stability and growth. Like that was the moment when they had the opportunity to take it to the next level or not. And whether or not they did, I guess, is up to your opinion. But yeah, that's kind of when I got into it, and that's why I think it was so important for me to connect with people at Spike, because I wanted to know what was that relationship like, And one of those people at Spike, by the way, I'll kind of mention this as kind of another something really good that you guys can look forward to in the book. It would be in the second book. Is that when they rebranded as Impact Wrestling, I've got documents showing the whole process. So in other words, documents where they were talking about rebranding and what do we call ourselves, and they had a whole bunch of names that they were considering or that were suggested to them, acronyms that were suggested to them, and a lot of them are just terrible.
I can't wait.
Really bad. So yeah, I look forward to sharing this with you. So lots of crazy stuff. Ooh, and then something else that you're going to get in the book. You're probably going to get a chapter that's I'm probably going to call Script to Screen, because I have multiple formats, and formats are the scripts that they use for the shows. So it literally it's like what they're working off of, including the promos written out word for word. Wow. So I'm going to compare the format to what actually aired. So we can see, well, what are the differences? What changed?
That is really cool. That's cool. Yeah.
There's
cool. So much that is open. I want to get to the last thing, but there's so many questions. I'm obviously grateful that you're going to do the once a month thing, because I'm sure I'm going to kick myself in the ass as soon as this goes off. I keep seeing people. Yeah, there's Lucha again, adding a couple more questions there, but. Yeah, so 1 through 3, let's get you going, and we can still talk through it. I just don't want to hold you up a little bit, and I want to get Craig to sleep. So 1 through 3 for you, Michael. You're tied in first place right now.
Two.
Number 2. All right. Yours is the Tag Team Championships. TNA, NWA, TNA, it doesn't matter. I'll clarify. All right. So which famous pairing of two wrestlers, individual wrestlers, have had success in both singles and tag, never held our Tag Team Championships? Was it 1, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, or James Gang, Voodoo Kin Mafia, whatever you want to call it, AJ Styles and Tomko, Kid Cash and Lance Hoyt, at the time was Dallas, or Simon Diamond and Johnny Swinger?
Jesus. I just interviewed Johnny Swinger, so I know that that's not it.
Swingman's a tag team champion. That's right.
Yeah, I'm
so
so
cool.
glad I got to interview him.
We could do an hour-and-a-half show of
one
you
of
just
the
telling
most
us
entertaining
tales of Johnny Swinger.
He's amazing. the Brizards, like crazy. It's so funny. Oh man, you said AJ and Tomko and Kid
Road
Cash.
Dogg, Billy Gunn, AJ, Tomko, Kid Cash, Lance Hoyt, and then Diamond and.
I'm gonna say it's Road Dogg and Billy Gunn.
You have taken the lead, my friend. It is Billy Gunn and Road Dogg never held it in Impact together, obviously, but separately, Road Dogg had won multiple times with 3 Live Crew.
That's surprising that they never won it together, just because of what they were
think at the time
before.
There was, I go back and you look at all the tag team champions at that time. It was just such a packed group that they were doing that Voodoo Kin Mafia thing, trying to attack the WWE and stuff. So I think they just had used them for different things. But I also know Road Dogg's head wasn't always right as well, unfortunately, at that time. Craig, you're up next. You get pick 1 or 2. See if you could tie for first place.
I'll go 2.
All right. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's another one. Okay. So our mid-card title has been called many, many things. Excluding the Grand Championship, so take that out. Which one of these wrestlers has held all, is it incarnations? Am I saying that right? Incarnations of that title. Each name. So you have Legends, Global, TV, and King of the Mountain. Which one of these wrestlers has held all 4 technically? You got 1, it's Kevin Nash. 2, Eric Young. 3, AJ Styles. And 4, Abyss.
Well, I know all the King of the Mountain champions, and anyone on there is EY, so I'm going to say EY.
You're correct, sir. Good thinking there.
Does this count? Does this count when he found one of them in the trash can and started wearing it?
Doesn't count that one. That was the World Championship, I think, was that.
No, it was that one. I thought was it the old World?
All right.
I don't remember. I thought he was the TV champion at the time, and then found the world championship in the trash.
All right, so here's your last one, Max. You're stuck,
and he started carrying both.
And then you either can, you have no chance to win, but you can.
I have no chance. So here's the question: if you don't read me the question, just give me the 4 names, and I pick right. Can I get 4 points? So without even actually knowing what the question is, you just give me the 4 people, and I just say, I think it's this person.
No, we have 6 minutes left. We're going to get your question out of the way and get out of here. All right. Which of these former WCW wrestlers, so they have wrestled in WCW as well, was not a part of Sports Entertainment Extreme? Okay. You have Raven, Kurt Hennig, Glenn Gilberti, or Disco, whatever, or David Flair. Which one of these 4?
I don't even know if I watched Impact when that was going on. So you might as well have just read me the 4 names and let me guess. but I'll go with Raven because I feel like he just doesn't fit.
From an outside perspective, never seen it, that makes sense. Are you locking that in?
Yeah,
No,
sure,
you're
why
wrong
not?
though. It's Kurt Hennig.
Was it Disco?
Yeah, such a
Hennig,
weird
okay.
a stable there. I mean, I think who else was in it? Chris Sabin was in it for his time being. AJ was never in it, but he was part of it. So we have Ty, and because he's our guest, Michael, you're our winner. You get to win this week. You'll make the track, you know.
I'll take it.
Oh man! So before we go, we have 4 minutes left. We'll just chat and see. What a name that was. It was Vince Russo name, just like TNA. Let's see if there's any little tidbits you want to get out or give to the fans, and or something for them to look forward to coming up from you.
Yeah, sure. So for me, the most interesting part of this is, well, I guess this isn't going to be a book about wrestling results. You know, these books aren't going to be a Wikipedia page of, you know, this person beat that person. There's probably going to be things I won't cover. To me, it's really more about, I want you to feel like you are in on a secret. Like, you know, when you are hearing about these stories from the head of security about how he had to throw out these fans or this crazy thing happened or whatever, you're just like, you feel like you're, you know, in on something that you probably shouldn't be in on, you know, almost like you might get caught reading about this stuff. I wanted it to feel special. I don't want it to just simply be, you know, AJ Styles beat this person, then he beat that person, then he beat that person. That's boring. That's something you can find on your own. I'm trying to give you something you can't find on your own. And for me, a big side of that's the business side. I really want to know, what's the office culture like. I want you to feel like you're walking through their office, you know. And there's a whole lot of interesting stuff when it comes to the office. And also the road crew. I mean, I've interviewed people who've done audio, people who've done, the guys who've set up the ring, and asking them, well, where do you put the microphones on the ring? You know, how do you mic it? How do you make sure wrestlers don't hit them? You know, or how did they have to deal with, you know, in the Alamo Dome when Bully Ray revealed that he was the head of Aces and Eights, and all the fans were throwing trash at the ring. You know, what happened then? You know, for the crew and the referee and everyone else involved. Like, how did they deal with that? All sorts of crazy stuff. And we're going to talk about in the book, the first book. I spent a good amount of time looking into the electrified steel cage, and I've got all sorts of interesting information about that, from how much it cost to whose idea it was to what they had to do to try to salvage it. All sorts of crazy stuff as it relates to that. So, you know, there's certain things I'm going to kind of zero in on, in addition to focusing on, you know, the people that I interviewed. So, you know, of course, I don't have it all worked out. I'm still doing the interviews. But, you know, as I interview people, I'm starting to sense like, oh, okay, there'll be a chapter about this, there'll be a chapter about that. So it's really going to be a blend of wrestling and, you know, the business side of the company, because I just think that's so much more fascinating to have that. So, you know, you will obviously have in the beginning of the first book, there'll be a whole chapter about the, you know, how it came to be and all of that stuff. Ooh, and this too. I'm going to be interviewing a couple people in the coming weeks who, you know, were very important to the beginning of the company. One of them was a financial backer for TNA, and because he backed out, Dixie stepped in. So it'll be really interesting to talk to him to learn, well, number one, why were you backing the company in the first place? Why did you stop backing the company? And all of that good stuff. Because I imagine that. What if Dixie never had to step in and put money into the company? She would just be she would just have been the publicist. So you know, all those interesting things. So, I mean, you're going to get all of that. I mean, there's so much to it. I really think both books are going to be very long, because there's just a lot to cover. And that's part of the reason why I'm going to be self-publishing these. I want to make sure, just like the Nitro book, that I'm not compromising on the quality by going with the publisher. Yeah, I've got Jeff Hardy. Yeah, I've got Ken Shamrock and all these great people. And I probably could get like a, you know, what do you call it? ECW Press or whoever to publish it, but then they probably would say, oh, you know, scale it down, or, you know, we're going to edit it or whatever. So, nah, I'm not doing that. And it's going to be affordable. You know, it's going to be $9.99 for the ebook. I don't care how long the book is. You're going to get an audio book with someone who narrates it, who knows how to pronounce wrestlers' last names. because that's annoying when they don't. And who knows, maybe I could get a famous person to narrate it from the business. I'm not sure. We'll see. But, I want it to be print, ebook, audiobook, so you guys can enjoy it however you like. And, it's just, I'm very excited by it. And, obviously, if there's anything that anyone is interested in having me explore, feel free to let me know. Follow me on Twitter, follow my website, reach out to me, and let me know, like, hey, I'd really love for you to explore this. And if it's not something I'm already looking into and it sounds interesting, I'll go for it. I'm happy to incorporate those things into, I have people toss me questions for interviews I do with musicians. I don't necessarily do it for this because I'm not sure, again, if I'm going to actually get the interview until it happens. But, feel free to reach out to me and make suggestions and
awesome.
Be part of the process.
I see a couple more questions in there that are great. If you guys add him there, you could see his Twitter account there, or you could do his website from there. We'll put up a link on our Twitter account. And ask away. He kind of touched on the perception of the company earlier in the show. So if you want to ask him again, that's cool. But the Jeff Hardy heel turn, I think, is a good question, Cody, that maybe you can tweet him about, and we'll go from there. So thanks for joining us. I'm going to kick it to Craig really quick, and then we'll all say our goodbyes and go for Barry Scott reference. Yeah, Barry Scott. Craig?
Yes, as I said earlier, we're here, we're there, we're everywhere. At Tnaiw channel on pretty much everything. YouTube. If you follow us on Twitter, you know our YouTube. Subscribe, follow us here if you don't already. New show coming on Monday. All our previous shows already up on YouTube, so go check them out. Sounder.fm/talking nonsense about Impact Wrestling. You can find previous episodes there. And I'm really looking forward for this book.
Yeah, same here. I want to thank Michael for being on the show. We'll see him at least, the very least, once a month here on the Talking Nonsense About Impact Wrestling podcast. I'm tired. I'm old. Michael, thank you for being on the show. You can follow him, obviously. You can see right there. I'll keep it up. We're going to go to a little preview once again, of the unboxing video that will be here next week. Let Michael have the last word.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. I'm very excited about this project. And, I've always wanted someone to kind of share this excitement with as I'm going through the process. Because in this COVID world that we're living in, it's great to connect through this podcast and through other means. So, I'm happy that you guys are along with me for the ride, because I'm a fan writing this for the fans. And I want that to come through in the final product. So, thank you for embracing this and being excited by this, just like I am.
I'm trying to save face, but I would be giddy as hell if you weren't here face to face right now talking about this stuff.
I'm excited about the book, and I'm really happy that you're going to be coming on each month to do an update.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. Lots to share.
Have a great night. Thanks for sticking with us. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe and like. Thank you very much. And make sure you go follow Michael at MCAVACINI right there. You can see it on your bottom right hand screen. And then we'll put up the link on Twitter. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, guys. See you next time.
Clue number 1. The box itself is not as easy to describe this time around, and my ability to measure is pretty low in comparison to my other attributes. I'm talking GFW low here, people. This oversized battery box, 7 inches tall on the flat basey thing, and 14 1/4 by 5 inches by 2 inches fanny pack on the front. I don't know, man. Do I look like Bob the Builder to you? It's a good sized box.
Oh yeah.
Clue number 2. This item is from 2010, right before the leeches came.
Brother.
It is a nice reminder of our lost TV deal here, and uses all the retro images, from the Impact TV show logo to the A-Change, right before he joined the Bullet Club. I miss you, A-Change. Come home. The 6-sided ring is proudly plastered on the box. For those of you who don't know, Impact Wrestling used a 6-sided ring from 2004 to 2010, and then again in 2014 to January 2018. And we had a ramp in 2011 because someone's foaming at the crotch boat motor holding couldn't walk up the stairs. I digress.
Brother.
It comes to us from Jack's Pacific. Yes, NASDAQ's own Jack's Pacific. If you're saying, damn, I should have bought stock when they started working with TNA after being with WWE for so long. I would say to you, in the famous words of one Cowboy James Storm, you're lucky you didn't. Huh? Wait. Anywho, these toys bombed, like GFW bombed, people.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and it comes to us from Malibu 90265, but like everything else, was made in China. Clue number 3. Have you concluded that this is a toy? If not, here's the giveaway. It was only sold at Toys R Us. For those of you who don't know, Toys R Us was a wonderful store that used to expand the imaginations of 90s kids for an inflated price. Now expanding the imaginations of 90s kids for an inflated price? Weed! I love Toys R Us. The giraffe mascot was named Jeffrey, so it made me feel better about my spelling. Now I have to hear Geoff from the unoriginals. What's next? Outdated Craig Ferguson jokes? The struggle is real. Oh, it's damn real. Originally sold in 4 3-packs with alternative paint jobs, this Toys R Us exclusive figure set included Sting, Shark Boy, Double J, Pass, Abyss, Jay Lethal, Mick Foley, Kurt Angle, and Kevin Nash. If you're saying, how did they come in 4 3-figure sets if there are 10 in yours, Geoff? Well, on top of the color changes, 2 also included Daniels and Consequences Creed. And if you must bring it up, yes, I cry at night knowing I don't have them. These 10 figures are only 2 inches in height and are considered a choking hazard for kids under the age of 8. So for all of you 7-year-olds out there, eat Jay Lethal first. I appreciate the irony.
Oh, yeah.
Brother.
Do you have it figured out? You do? Good. Great. Grand. On we go.